If you're a UFC fan, then you've probably heard the name Israel Adesanya a couple of times. In his prime, he was one of the biggest superstars in the UFC. He's one of the few that broke out into mainstream media. People, or I should say children, liked Izzy because he was just like them. He loved anime, did TikTok dances in the octagon and during his walkouts, and said corny one-liners, which is alright, until you learn that he was actually in his 30s and wasn't as young as you may think. But he was also a somewhat entertaining fighter, and he seemed like an alright guy. But what if I told you there was a dark, and I mean dark, side of Israel Adesanya? In today's video, we are going to be breaking down almost everything that Israel Adesanya has done in his life that makes him a bad person. To him touching his dog and faking that he has cancer, and we'll even talk about the one time where Israel Adesanya lied about his childhood and even compared his childhood to being a Brazilian living in the favelas of Brazil. First, let's just start off with the one everyone already knows, and that is that Israel Adesanya legit has a dog fetish. He once posted a video where it was just him and his dog. Pretty wholesome, right? Well, it actually takes a drastic turn when Izzy then starts stroking his dog's penis. And apparently this is just something that a lot of UFC fighters do. The female fighter Luana Santos did the exact same thing and posted it on Instagram. But for Izzy, it doesn't stop there. He's also been spotted liking multiple dog fetish accounts on Twitter, and he even posted this on Twitter back in 2018. Make sure to read the caption. But anyways, there's a lot of weird stuff containing dogs that Izzy seems to like, and he might actually honestly wish he was a dog himself, because a lot of his one-liners are him calling himself a dog.
Well, you heard me. I said, middleweights, I'm the new dog in the yard, and I just all over this cage.
Now let's talk about how he likes to throw around the word racist and call a lot of people racist. First, when he was about to fight Sean Strickland, the Australian crowd booed him because this is his first fight after getting exposed for the dog fetish, so people were just booing him because of how weird he was. But since Izzy has a massive ego and thinks he's perfect and there's nothing wrong about him, he just immediately jumped to the conclusion that every Australian that booed him was just racist, even though that's not true at all. And then again, when he was about to fight Dricus du Plessis, Dricus said that he wanted to be the UFC's first South African champion that lives in South Africa. And somehow Izzy twisted that and made it sound like Dricus said that he was going to be the first South African champion, and pretty much making the narrative that Dricus just discredited Izzy, Kamaru Usman, and Francis Ngannou. But in reality, Dricus said nothing about race. What Dricus said was 100% true. He lives in South Africa, he was born in South Africa, and he trains in South Africa. They just didn't like how a white guy was saying that he was going to be the first South African champion. And by they, I mean Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman. Francis Ngannou didn't say anything about it because he's not delusional like the other two, and he knows what Dricus said was 100% true. In reality, Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman were the ones who were actually being racist, but they just teamed up and tried to make everyone think that Dricus du Plessis was just some racist white guy. Izzy's ego is just so fragile that he had to take a true statement that Dricus du Plessis said and blow it way out of proportion and make it way bigger than it had to be. Speaking of Izzy's ginormous ego, let's talk about his fight with Alex Pereira. A lot of media members, most notably Joe Rogan, said that when Izzy lost his belt to Alex, Izzy took it like a champ and he had no excuses and just owned up to losing. But in reality, that is a complete lie. In the post-fight press conference, Izzy said nothing except excuses. Izzy said that in the first round, Alex Pereira threw a leg kick that damaged Izzy's peroneal nerve or something like that, and Izzy's foot was completely dead and he couldn't use it the entire fight, which is very interesting because when you actually look at the fight, Izzy is doing perfect footwork for the entire fight, something you would not be able to do if your peroneal nerve was damaged. When a fighter's peroneal nerve gets damaged, their foot is completely dead. It's gone. They cannot use that for the entire rest of the fight. It just goes limp. And that's something that never happened to Israel Adesanya during the fight. And in the video where Israel Adesanya is breaking down the fight, he made sure to tell us whenever his nerve wasn't working. But the weird thing is that it only seemed to affect Izzy when Alex was doing good in the fight. Never again when Izzy was doing good. It was only when Alex was having success on the feet that his foot was injured. Izzy also said that the stoppage was early, which to be fair, it kind of was, but Izzy also said that he wasn't even rocked and he was completely fine, which is the biggest BS I've ever heard. The amount of excuses that Izzy made up in this post-fight press conference is crazy. And which is even crazier is the fact that Joe Rogan just completely lied about the entire thing. But his ego doesn't stop there. Back in the day when Izzy was fighting Alex in kickboxing, the fight where Alex flatlines Israel Adesanya, Izzy said that after the fight, Alex's son went into the ring and then fell down right beside Izzy as he was on the ground, just kind of mocking him for getting knocked out. And then years later, when Israel Adesanya finally knocked out Alex Pereira in the UFC, by the way, that was his biggest accomplishment ever, he took the time to find Alex Pereira's son, who was crying in the crowd, point at him, and then flopping down on the floor just to get back at his son, who just saw his dad get flatlined. And you know what? I would actually excuse that if Izzy was just a little bit younger. The problem is that Izzy is 35 or 36 when he did that. And when you know how old he is, it just kind of like ruins the entire thing. And when he mentioned it on the podcast, he seemed proud of it. Like, dude, you're 36 and you have beef with a 13-year-old. But it doesn't stop there. After Izzy knocked out Alex Pereira, Alex then moved up and became the light heavyweight champion. And as soon as he got the belt, he immediately gave Izzy a title shot and said, hey, come up and take this belt if you want. And Izzy said, nah, I'm good, I already won. Which is literally like the biggest bitch move ever. That's pretty much the equivalent to playing a video game with your little brother, and then you beat him 10 times in a row, and then when he beats you once, he throws the controller across the room and says, I guess I'm better than you, sorry, and then he just walks away, even though you just destroyed him 10 times and he beat you once. And let's be honest, the only reason why he said no is because he knows that if he fought Alex Pereira up at light heavyweight, he isn't making it out of the second round. I mean, let's be real. Israel Adesanya would get absolutely slaughtered if he fought Alex Pereira when Alex Pereira wasn't killing himself with that weight cut. Izzy's ego is actually just way too high for his own good. He tries to make everything about him. There's that one video of when Robert Whittaker got knocked out by Dricus du Plessis. Israel Adesanya stands up and yells, I manifested this! I manifested this! Practically taking all of the credit away from Dricus du Plessis. And then I'm pretty sure in the same night there was also that moment where they were filming Izzy in the crowd, and then Izzy just throws a drink at the cameraman to try to be funny or something like that. But that's just kind of like a dick move. Izzy just has no excuse for being this old and still thinking his life is a real life anime. And that's not even a joke. Izzy actually thinks he's the main character in an anime. Speaking of Izzy's anime obsession, let's talk about one of my favorite Israel Adesanya clips. In that one famous UFC press conference where Sean Strickland is yelling at Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland is talking about Izzy's cartoon addiction, and he keeps calling anime cartoons. And that really pisses Izzy off. And then towards the end of the press conference, Sean Strickland said that Izzy likes to pleasure himself to cartoons. And that's when Izzy just couldn't take it. He just had to correct Sean after he called his beloved hentai a cartoon. Here's the clip.
He's a good guy. I don't judge his cartoon porn addiction. I'm not going to be that guy.
Hentai. Get
I don't
used to
judge
it.
it.
It's called hentai.
It's called hentai.
Same.
Like, maybe the steroids aren't true, but the jerking off the cartoons is true. So it's like...
And that's facts.
Him yelling hentai at Sean Strickland and correcting him practically just proves that Izzy actually watches hentai, and it might be the funniest thing Izzy has ever done. Now you might be thinking, oh wow, all of this stuff is pretty bad, but sadly it gets even worse. Let's start off with him faking cancer. It all started when he was fighting Paulo Costa. Fans noticed that he had gyno on one of his nipples, which is a side effect of using steroids. You can actually get gyno naturally since it's just a hormone imbalance, but when you get it naturally, it affects both of your nipples. But when you get it from using steroids or PEDs, it only affects one of your nipples, and it was only affecting one of Israel Adesanya's nipples. This pretty much confirms that Israel Adesanya at one point was taking steroids in his career. But to get fans and media away from saying he was using PEDs, he just kept hinting that he has cancer behind the scenes. He hinted at it several times and compared himself to Chadwick Boseman, who died from cancer. He even said it would be funny if he died from cancer. Here are the clips of him hinting that he has cancer.
Yeah, I just got to look after myself because my health comes first. Even think about Chadwick Boseman. When everyone was making fun of him, oh, he looks so this, he looks so skinny, he looks so sleepy. Not knowing behind the scenes he was fighting cancer. People always make fun of me about, my chest and other things, but they don't know what I'm doing or what I'm going through in life.
Wouldn't it be funny if I died in like 5 months and then it was cancer?
No,
And
no.
it was, oh, it wouldn't be funny. I mean,
Right. I mean,
like Chadwick was, a guy who, rest in peace, was going through a lot, and everything was hush hush, and then people were making fun of him for looking skinny. And then when he died, oh no, oh he was such a hero, and these clowns were still talking about him when he was, going through what he was going through. So I don't know what this is.
He was literally just like clout chasing cancer just to get away from the accusations that he was on steroids. It just feels wrong to knowingly take steroids, and then when you get something like gyno, to get away from people calling you out for having steroids, you say you have cancer or just hint at it. And I don't know, just because like cancer kills like millions of people every year, and then he was just kind of using it just to get away from the steroid accusation. And now for the very last thing, let's talk about how Israel Adesanya completely lied about his childhood. Izzy said that he grew up in poverty and he was pretty much broke and had a rough childhood. He even compared his childhood to kids who grew up in the favelas of Brazil, which if you didn't know are pretty much the slums in Brazil. There's so much crime and they had like zero funding, and so many kids don't make it out of them alive because of gang violence and drugs. Alex Pereira actually used to live in the favelas, and he lost his brother due to drugs. Izzy compared his childhood to that, which is insane when you actually learn that Izzy grew up very rich. He had servants walking around his house, giving him baths, and pretty much doing everything for him. He completely just lied about everything, and Dricus du Plessis even called him out and exposed him during that press conference, and that's what made Israel Adesanya cry. Dricus was just saying like everything that Izzy's done, like lying about his childhood, his dog fetish, and Izzy just couldn't really take it, so that's why he was crying. Which, I don't know, say what you want about Israel Adesanya, but him faking he has cancer and lying about his childhood really just kind of shows you the dark side of Israel Adesanya. His ego, anime obsession, and childish behavior can somewhat be excused, but those last two things we talk about just can't be. And that is the dark side of Israel Adesanya. I probably left out a couple of things that Izzy has done since he's done a lot of bad things. So if I left out anything else that you know about, make sure to comment that down below. And if you made it this far, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And if you want to see more videos like this, then I have a video on exposing the dark side of Khabib. And I also have a video on how I am certain that Jon Jones has been to a Diddy party. Go watch those videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.